What is up, everybody? It's your boy Verdict here, and we have quite a few to talk about today. This video is going to be a little bit different. I woke up today and I was like, okay, let's piss people off. And obviously, it's not going to be like that. Pretty much just poking fun at you. There's been some talks about a very big change coming in on the global labs. This is what I'll dedicate today's video for, and it's a very important conversation. It's been going on throughout the entirety of the video community, and that is, of course, the grab conversation. So, let's begin. Now, before we start this video, I would like to take a moment to thank this video sponsor, and that is you, motherfucker. Who did you think? I don't take any sponsorships on this channel. In fact, I pushed them all away because I'm not interested in selling you something that you probably wouldn't like to see. So with that being said, fellas, all types of support is well appreciated on Patreon, YouTube, or of course on Twitch. So, of course, we're talking about the grabs conversation. Now, really, we didn't do a good job as content creators talking about the grab conversation because I had to spend about 4 hours on my stream deflecting this because are looking for our feedback on something like this potentially happening. And of course, let's be honest with it. It's the grab conversation, man. It's been controversial, and it's very polarizing, and it's very subjective, and nobody can give an objective opinion on it because grabs are subjective themselves. They're very different. They work in different ways, and the reasons for which grabs are OP are often not the grabs themselves. It's what the grabs enable you to do because of different aspects within the game's PvP systems. Here's the thing, fellas. I need to be completely honest with you. One of the main reasons for which I don't like BDO PvP is grabs. I don't enjoy the entire idea of the grab being this ultimate one centerpiece of CC around the entirety of PvP that will get you a lot further if you have one than not having one. You know, this is also a very subjective conversation, and as I said earlier, you simply cannot make an objective statement here. You just simply can't. Everything that we talk, everybody that makes talks about PvP, you could be as close enough as to an objective statement that you possibly could be, but it would still not be a pure one. It's something that we have to live with. So basically what Perlibis said in the Global Labs patch was, well, we're looking forward to probably potentially put grabs on every single class in the game, but, you know, keep them still different because some classes have very strong grabs, some classes have very weak grabs. And the entirety of this revolves around the player's shock and horror when a suggestion comes forward like, oh, well, imagine an awakening sorceress with a grab. Yeah, that's a monster that you don't want to see. Imagine a Muso or a Maewa with a grab just scooting through the entirety of the battlefield, grabbing somebody. Yeah, you don't really want to see this. Imagine an awakening Maewa using Hazy Path to teleport straight to you within a split second and then grabbing you out of it. You know, you get the idea. It's something that you just can't really afford to have. But the reason for which we think this way is because, well, we perceive grabs based on what they currently are. And when Perlibis say that they're looking forward to changing grabs, normalizing them, or whatever this means, well, we have to look through that lens first. But really, in my opinion, it is not necessarily the grabs that are the issue. It is something that, well, everybody in the BDO community has been talking about, and that's resistances. So, of course, it's going to boil down to resistances. What I mean by this, of course, fellas, is imagine it like this. You failed your protection. I was supposed to knock you down, and I did knock you down. The chance factor of it is what pisses us off. The sheer chance factor. Now, of course, we have to be very careful when we talk about PvP and BDO because it's a butterfly effect. Every single thing that you pull here is going to get some other class really kind of like buffed, or not necessarily buffed, but they're going to be a lot more prominent. Every single change that you make has an effect onto the entirety of Black Desert's PvP system, and that's something very important. People don't understand this, and they're losing the plot often enough when we're talking about the PvP. So let's talk a little bit about how other games have dealt with this. So CC in other games is very important, and it's always been a thing, and it's a factor, and there's been case and point studies for every single class why you shouldn't have a CC on this particular type of a class that is like this, why you should have this CC on this particular class that is like this. In other words, other huge MMORPGs, they've pretty much done it very good. World of Warcraft being one of them. I know people hate when I bring World of Warcraft to the conversation, but they have created a system that works with CCs that are manageable, and they're actually perfectly fine. In World of Warcraft, they've reworked the entirety of the CCs, how they work up until the third expansion of the game, or about, well, 7 years ever since the game came out. Or in other words, where we're at exactly in Black Desert Online currently. So one of the most important part in WoW is if you've played World of Warcraft, you probably know about the medallion trinkets. The medallion trinkets are repeatable on a 2-minute cooldown that frees you from all types of CC interruptions, basically movement and parrying effects upon your character. Now, we have something similar over here, but it comes with the cost of you being completely useless for its duration, and that is, of course, the emergency escape. People don't like the emergency escape, people like the emergency escape, subjective. But one thing that we can agree upon is, well, if you're going to give everybody grabs, as Pearl Abyss are looking forward to our feedback on, well, let's have a talk. Well, what if we just allow, everybody has a grab, but what if we can free ourselves from a grab every once in a while so that it's not that prominent? Well, that's a good suggestion if you really think about it. Removing CC from you is a little bit of an action that you take upon yourself rather than rolling the dice on whether or not it's going to happen. And I think it's a better approach. I think giving the player power rather than the player being powerless, and when something is supposed to land, both of the sides are just playing Dungeons and Dragons and just rolling the dice to see if it's going to happen or not. You have to agree over here, it's a better idea to just simply be in control rather than not being in control. It's an additional skill factor that you have to take into consideration for your gameplay. And with that being said, fellas, the PvP conversation is a very hard one. Nobody can do it good. Nobody can do it proper. People have credibility built behind them from being PvP players. But in reality, all of it is very hard. We simply can't be the people to determine what's supposed to happen. And this is something that I have to give, I guess, kudos to Pearl Abyss. If you really think about it, it's kind of, PvP is like the threads of fate. You have to connect them all at one particular moment, tie them into a knot, and hope it stays properly. And then perhaps you can loosen up a little bit here. You can loosen up a little bit there. You get the idea. It is so complex, we can never really execute it properly in terms of a conversation.